Mayor Craig McFarland, and welcome to Law Day 2021. Today, we have several guest speakers, including Presiding Judge of Pinau County, the Honorable Stephen McCarville. We'll also hear from the Casa Grande Police Department and the Public Information Officer, Thomas Anderson. We also will hear from the City of Casa Grande Council Member and Judge Pro Tem, the Honorable Robert Huddleston. City Councilwoman and Pinau County Juvenile Probation Public Information Officer, Donna McBride, will also speak with us today, and the Casa Grande City Court Judge, the Honorable Diani Juarez, and children and youth from our community. Our next guest is the Presiding Judge of Pinau County, Stephen McCarville. Judge McCarville has a special message regarding this year's theme, Advancing the Rule of Law Now.
Hello. I would like to begin by thanking Judge Juarez and all of those at the Casa Grande City Court for inviting me today to take part in the Advancing the Rule of Law Now. My name is Steve McCarville, and I have been on the Pinau County Superior Court bench for the last 20 years. And during the last 7 years, I've had the privilege and honor of serving as the presiding judge here in Pinau County, and so this issue is one that is very important to me. The rule of law is based on the principles that ensure orderly and just society, and I wanted to touch on just 3 of those principles with you. The first is to ensure that we have an independent judiciary. We recently celebrated International Women's Day, and I'm not sure if you saw the article or story of the female judges in Guatemala who had been assigned some very high-profile cases, including murder, extortion, and political corruption. And unfortunately, some of their decisions are not popular with the litigants. Now, some of those litigants took to try to remedy what they thought a wrong decision by appealing to the Supreme Court of the Guatemalan government, and others filed complaints with the Judicial Commission. But unfortunately, some took to threatening the judge and their families with harm. And I hope we can all agree that for the rule of law to prevail, we need to make sure that our judges are free to make decisions based on their conscience and not on the fear of retaliation. The second principle I would like to address is making sure that we have access to justice for all. At the Pinau County Superior Court, we do that by ensuring that we make accommodations for anyone under the American Disabilities Act. We also have interpreters on our staff to help us if English is not a litigant's primary language. And in fact, we have access to a language line that provides us with almost every language that is spoken in the world. And that helps to promote the idea that everyone will have access to the courts, which promotes the theory that you can pursue your remedies in a peaceful manner. I would like to highlight 2 different examples of that from the most recent presidential election. You know that there are some who are unhappy with those results, and you are probably aware that President Trump and people of his campaign filed several lawsuits in different states trying to challenge the outcome of the election, whether by the methods that were used for people to vote or by the methods in which their votes were being tallied. And without discussing the merits of those cases, I simply would say that those efforts should be applauded because they were done in a peaceful manner. And you compare that to the incident that we're all aware of that occurred at the nation's capital on January 6th, where those people who were unhappy with the election results took it upon themselves to act in a violent manner. Now, I trust that the rule of law will still prevail, as several of those people are still being held accountable for their actions on that day. But we need to promote the idea that our differences can be settled in peaceful manners. The third theory or principle is equality under the law. There is a reason why Lady Justice is always depicted as being blindfolded and with the scales of justice being balanced. Unfortunately, there are still people in our society today who believe that they're not being treated equally, whether it's based on race, religion, age, or gender. One example, obviously, is the Black Lives Matter demonstrations that we saw last year for those who believe that they were not being treated fairly based solely on the color of their skin. And while I do not want to comment again on the merits of those demonstrations, I would point out that while I am addressing you today, one of the officers involved in that incident with Mr. George Floyd, Officer Chauvin, is actually standing trial right now in the Hennepin County Court in Minnesota. And I'm not again suggesting that the jury should find him guilty or not guilty. I simply suggest that the fact that he is being held accountable is evidence that the rule of law does prevail. And the rule of law in its simplest term means that no one is above the law. So I hope that you will join us in ensuring that those principles are adhered to. If you see a wrong that should be righted, please make those changes in a peaceful manner. Again, I want to thank Judge Juarez and those here at the Casa Grande City Court. I want to thank you for your time today.
So what is Law Day?
Hi, I'm Judge Diani Juarez with the Casa Grande City Court. Law Day is celebrated on the first day of May of each year to recognize the rule of law and the freedoms it affords us. Initially envisioned by American Bar Association President Charles Rhyne, Law Day has been celebrated in the United States since 1958. Each year, a theme is selected to highlight and educate on important advances or struggles within our legal system and society. Past themes include Your Vote, Your Voice, the 19th Amendment at 100, Justice for All, Foundations of Freedom, and Struggle for Justice. This year's theme, Advancing the Rule of Law Now in light of the struggles and hardships we have endured this past year with the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic.
Did you know that the city of Casa Grande has a curfew? So what is our curfew?
The city of Casa Grande does have a curfew. It's quite simple. If you are 15 years of age or younger, the curfew is 10 p.m. If you are 16 or 17 years old, the curfew is midnight. Now this curfew applies 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Now, the interesting thing is, of course, officers have a little thing they call discretion. So if a police officer comes into contact with a person that's, let's say, 16 or 17 years old, and it's exactly midnight and we're at the movie theaters and they're coming out of the movies and they're getting right into their car and going home, or they're with a parent or a guardian, these are things that we can make an exception for or use our discretion to allow them to go on to where they need to go home. Sometimes maybe they have jobs that keep them out that late at night. But in total, of course, yes, there is a curfew in the city of Casa Grande. A lot of people don't know about it, but please make sure you're in at the right time.
Did you know that it's against the law to drink alcohol if you're under the age of 21?
It is against the law to drink alcohol under the age of 21. The legal drinking age in Arizona is 21 years old. So if you're under that age, you shouldn't have in your possession alcohol, you shouldn't be trying to purchase alcohol, and you certainly shouldn't be drinking alcohol. If you are found to be in possession or drinking alcohol in this state, you can be cited with a minor in consumption citation, which, if found convicted, could result in up to a $2,500 fine, up to 6 months in jail. So very serious violation of that law. Now, can you be in a bar? Well, if it's just a bar, then you can be in a bar under the age of 21 if you are with your parent or your guardian. If not, then no, you cannot. Now, this also applies to people that furnish or provide or sell alcohol to minors or those that are under 21. That's also against the law. It's also a Class 1 misdemeanor, just like the minor in consumption is, except this carries a maximum fine of up to $2,500, up to 6 months in jail, and also up to 2 years of probation.
Do you know that you have rights? What are your rights? And why are they important?
Hello, my name is Bob Huddleston. I am a city council member, City of Casa Grande. I'm also a judge pro tem for the Pinau County Justice Court system. I'd like to talk with you today a little bit about the rights that are afforded to you in the United States Constitution and why they are important. The Constitution gives you several rights, the first being in the First Amendment, guarantees you the right to free speech. It gives you the right to pretty much speak your opinion at any time, any place, without government repercussion. But it does have limitations and responsibilities in that you can't harm others. You can't create a danger or put other people in harm's way with your speech. The other item in the First Amendment is freedom of religion. The Constitution guarantees that we can practice religion or not in any way that we choose to. The First Amendment also guarantees the right of peaceful assembly. You can gather in groups and voice your group opinion in any way that you want, again, as long as it doesn't harm others. The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution deals with unreasonable search and seizure. And when they talk about seizure, it actually refers to arrest of persons. Law enforcement is governed by a legal term called probable cause. Probable cause is a quote-unquote reasonable man standard, and it states that if a reasonable person believes that a crime has been committed and that the person to be arrested has committed that crime, then that person can be arrested. The Fifth Amendment deals with self-incrimination. It protects you from the government forcing you or coercing you in some way to give statements against yourself. We've often heard in movies and on trial television people quoting the Fifth Amendment or taking the Fifth. That quite simply says that I don't have to say anything bad about myself if I don't want to. The Fifth Amendment also covers what is referred to as the Miranda Warning. We've all heard that on television and in movies. When the officer starts reading, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. That you have the right to an attorney. And that if you cannot afford one, that one will be appointed to you by the courts. The Miranda Case is a famous case in law and law enforcement, and it stems from a case from right here in Arizona in Phoenix. At one point, the police arrested Ernesto Miranda and failed to advise him of his constitutional rights, and they elicited self-incriminating statements from Ernesto that were later thrown out of court. The Supreme Court said that police need to make sure that suspects are advised of their rights and that they have those rights in mind if and when they make any statements. So now literally all police officers carry a card in their pocket with the Miranda warnings, and anytime they arrest someone, they read those Miranda rights to them and get some kind of an indication from the person arrested that they understand their rights, and they're either going to invoke those rights and not give any statements, or they may want to request an attorney, or they may choose to talk to the police having those rights in mind.
Everyone has rights protected under the law. Do you know your rights?
Okay, in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights is a list of guaranteed essential rights for all citizens. We've gone over some of them just now, and it's important that we all know our rights and that we at least understand them and in many cases exercise those rights. The theory goes that if we don't exercise those rights, at some point we could lose them. They may become viewed as less important and not exercised by the citizenry. And so we need to be aware of them and exercise them, be proud of them, utilize them when and if necessary. Thank you.
What can parents do to hold their children accountable? What can the law do to help parents?
Well, first of all, the first thing that parents can do to keep their kids accountable is really to be responsible to their whole family. And we lead by example. As parents and grandparents and adults, we need to make sure that we are doing what we can do to set those examples. And so when we talk about holding kids accountable, it's not so much as punitive, but it's about teaching them through our example. We need to make sure that they understand our rules as parents, that we abide by those rules and that there are consequences when they decide that they're going to break those rules. And it's a learning process for all kids. When we're talking about them doing right and wrong, it's their learning. And so we have a responsibility to help move them in the direction that we feel is responsible according to the law.
How has the law helped you?
So the laws really help the parents in several different ways, because in our home we have guidelines and rules that we follow. And so the law is that for the community. And when we talk about laws, we're talking about responsible behavior. And there are laws for a reason. And a lot of people don't agree with all the laws, but there's history behind each one. And so what I like to tell parents to do is when they're setting down rules according to the laws, find out the history behind. Say if it's a curfew, find out what the curfew law is and explain what the consequences are going to be. Because it's not just enough to say no, and you can't do that or you're going to get in trouble. But we as parents have a responsibility to explain those laws to the students so that they understand. And then again, for them to understand the consequences if they don't follow the law. And I'm not talking about not following the law just for the police and getting cited and going before the judge. I'm talking about we as a family. And there should be consequences, some good and some bad for everything that we do. And so parents really have an option that they can use the law as an educational tool and also to help guide them in what they should be doing as a family.
Why is the law important?
The law found us a forever home. We love you, Mom and Dad.
Hi, my name's Anna, and those are my beautiful children. Through the legal process, I was able to adopt my beautiful babies in August 2016 at the Pinau County Superior Court.
The law ensures our rights are protected.
The law holds us accountable.
The law provides a forum to resolve legal disputes.
The law protects us by separating offenders from society when necessary.
The law promotes justice in individual cases.
The law protects individuals against the arbitrary use of governmental power.
The law provides a record of legal status. The law deters criminal behavior.
The law rehabilitates individuals convicted of crime.
The law seeks fair justice for all.